That is hardcore.
This is hardcore shit.
But for me, it gets harder and harder to resist.
Hey, Mike. So tonight we have Susan Lanier. Susan is an actress, producer, writer, vocalist, and a musician, not to mention one of my favorite scream queens. Mostly famous for The Hills Have Eyes.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Susan, how are you?
Good
Hey.
girl. How you doing?
Good. I am so excited to have you on here. When your name was first mentioned to me, I was like, oh, hell yes. Gotta have Susan because you're so full of energy and you're just a fireball and absolutely love you. Amazing actress. And you've been busy for, you have so many projects going on, it seems like.
Actually, I am the busiest I've been in quite a few years, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always worked, I've always done a project or two. I'm an artist whose focus shifts frequently. And I go from art form to art form because I've done TV, film, producing, writing songs, and as well as writing scripts in a book. And so I never get bored because I'm on some project or another. But acting wise, I've been quite busy recently, and I have 2 or 3 films lined up. So that after the strike, so I'm kind of busy and excited. Yeah, it's a good time
Awesome.
for
That's
me.
great. Hey, Susan, let's take it back a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning. What got you into art at all? Like, be it film or music? What happened first, and how did it come about?
Okay, so I'm not sure which happened first. My granddad from East Texas was not wealthy. He had a piano on his front porch, and as a child, little child, my mother would take us to visit her parents, and so he played the piano really wonderfully, funky old blues, downbeat kind of East Texas thing. And I was always fascinated with music. But by the age of 13, I was very clear I wanted to be an actor. I was walking through the park one day and I saw an audition, and I asked if I could audition, and I got the lead and then won a big award that summer in Dallas, Texas. And I had the bug. And it was like, I feel like so lucky that I knew what I wanted to do with both of those things very, very early in my age, because I meet a lot of kids right now they're 20 and they still don't know what they want to do. Well, I knew what I wanted to do at 13. And so without a doubt. And so it was like, then you can make plans and take classes and, gear your life to go in the direction you want it to go in if you start early. And I think that I was very blessed about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about, I'm sorry, I have to ask about The Hills Have Eyes. Like, did you know what you were auditioning for? Tell us a little bit about it.
By the time I was asked to audition for The Hills Have, I actually wasn't. It really wasn't an audition with Wes Craven and Peter Locke, the producer. It was more of a meeting. They had seen my work on television. The casting directors also knew my work very, very well on television. I had also starred in a major play with Richard Chamberlain and Dorothy McGuire and Raymond Massey, Eleanor Parker at the Amundsen Theater here in LA in 1975 and 6. And so that's hard to get those kind of jobs. It's a big, big theater here in Los Angeles, and it's very prestigious. So I was in my very early 20s when I got that job. And so it opened a lot of doors for me. Initially, when I moved here, I only wanted to do comedy or serious theater. I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd ever do a horror movie. But I'd done a lot of TV and I wanted to star in a movie. And so when I was offered that role, my agent was just furious. He said, no, you're not going to do it. It's a horror movie. It'll ruin your career. And I just said, well, I am going to do it. And I love the role. And I had met Wes Craven. He was so cool and he was so nice. And I said, and I love the director and I want to work with him. So I did it. And I'm sure there's certain people that I lost maybe a little collateral with, because I did a horror movie. But The Hills Have Eyes ended up being a life-changing experience for me. So not only career-wise, but also personally. I met later I met my husband who had seen The Hills Have Eyes, and we connected from The Hills Have Eyes. So it was like, I would never have met him had I not been in The Hills Have Eyes, more than likely. And it was just kind of life-changing. And I'm still working off of The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Do you work a lot of conventions, like horror conventions?
No, I turned them down.
Yeah.
Some, I do a few. I find them to be hard work, and it's very tedious. You've got to be sitting there for 2 days. I do love meeting fans, and I love my fans, but I don't really like the convention circuit that much. So I'm one of the ones who aren't always trying to hustle those. I'd be good with 2 a year, period. Just 2 a year. That would be fine for me, because you've got to fly there and honestly, I'd rather be writing music or working on music than sitting in a chair for 2 days.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I don't,
Yeah.
and I think, I think they're great for meeting your fans, but I think they already know who you are. I don't know. It's hard. I feel guilty about turning them down sometimes, but I'd rather be creating a new project than
Sure.
cashing in on the old stuff,
Yeah. 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 And that's all right. I think that's great. Good for you. And you're so busy too. It's probably hard to even just take 2 full days and put it to the side, to do those things.
Well, I was just in New York working with my musical director, Carl Danielson, on a cabaret show I'm going to be putting up in New York. And that to me is really exciting. And I write a lot of music. I'm determined to have a new Christmas song out this year and recorded by Christmas. And I just, my thing is the creation of stuff, and I get bored sitting there all day long.
Yeah.
I know that probably sounds snotty, but I do. It's like I'm not a convention. I'm not wild about them. I'm supposed to do one for the new movie I did recently next weekend in LA, and the LA conventions are the least exciting because there's so many celebrities that go, and so the fans are just going from table to table to table to table, and there's not really time to have a connection with people.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. And I didn't even know that you were a musician. I had no idea.
Yeah,
So
let's talk about that. What kind of music are you making, and do you tour? Do you put on shows? What do you do?
Yeah, like in the 70s, I sang backup for a few people. I always like to harmonize. I started writing songs without hardly any training when I was in high school, and they were horrible. They were just horrible songs. So, but I really enjoyed writing music. So my late husband wrote Superstar with Leon Russell, and he produced Eric Clapton's first album. And so when I was, he had a group that your audience might be familiar with, Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. And they were a wonderful rock group in the late 60s. And they were broken up by 1971. And I met him in 1977. And my whole life became not only about acting, he loved the fact that I acted, but he was a musician till the day he passed away. And so he was producing everybody, Joe Cocker, I mean, Jimi Hendrix, there was George Harrison was on the scene. Everybody was, at his house or our house. And later when I moved there. And so it was like a real scene that I've been in since the late 70s. So it actually is a little bit more exciting, and the people seem to be more grounded, if there is such thing. The music world is quite wonderful. My son is also a guitar player, and he plays with 45 Grave, and he was the lead guitarist for the Dickies for a while. So
Okay.
He's in music as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I don't have a traditional, my show's called Swamp, like Swampland, Cabaret. So it's sleazy, it's a little bit nasty, it's very bluesy and rock, and it's about my story. And it's more of a cabaret venue type of sound than I wouldn't say that it would be a great rock club, show. So I'm not, I don't consider myself a rock and roller, kind of somewhere between musical comedy and rock.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I love Swamp Cabaret. I was like, ooh, that sounds good. I'll
I'm
have to
going to
check
have
it
the
out.
CD available on CD Baby or YouTube or whatever it's called that people can buy, and it's 15 songs of my show called Swamp Cabaret. And I also have a new EP that I haven't quite released yet called Allergic to Texas, and it's all bluesy. So yeah, I love doing both. And some of
Okay.
my music ends up in films.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And so you've just finished up a couple of projects. So tell us about these movies that you just finished up.
Well, I'm excited about both of them, actually. I just finished one called Black Mass. That's directed by Devaney Penn. I don't know if you've interviewed her before, but
well, we haven't interviewed, but I know who she is.
she's just, she out of the blue called me and asked me if I'd like to do a role in Black Mass. And that explained she was directing it. And I had met her before. And I said, well, yeah, I'd love to do your movie. And I don't have a big part in that. I play a mom, a German mom. And that was nice because I had the challenge of being able to, it takes place in the 70s. And it's making the festival circuit right now. And I got to do a little German accent, and I've seen the footage, and I really am proud of what ended up in the film. Though it's not a huge part, I just like to work. And she just has really proved to me and to whoever's seeing the film that she probably is somebody who's going to be directing a lot. I really have a great deal of respect for her. And then I just finished a film called The Boatyard, and they're marquees in Times Square saying coming soon, and there's marquees in Hollywood right now. And it was written by Rory Graham and directed by Dale Stelly. And I have a much bigger role in this one. And in the Black Mass, I play a very prudish mom. And in Boatyard, I play a mass evil bartender killer. And so and just dirty and sleazy and whatever. And I love the fact that I have, footage playing both of those things, because I hate being, let's get Susan for the evil one, or let's get Susan for the PTA mom. No. And then I have a couple of as a matter of fact, we had our wrap party for the Boatyard this week and Thursday, and I think it might have legs. I you never know. I mean, when I did The Hills Have Eyes, I never knew if it was good, bad, not. I just was, I'm a typical actor, and actors just like to work. And so
when did you know that it blew up? At what point were you like, wow,
probably about a year and a half later, after it was released. It was released, I think, in 77. I did the tour with Peter and Wes, flying around to the openings when it opened. And I starred in it. So, I played Brenda and I'm the star of it. So they asked me to do the tour and I did. It's not my picture on the cover. So it has that picture of Michael Behrman that really makes it look like it's he is the movie. And he's a dear friend of mine. But I guess that was for sales purposes, and I suppose it worked. So, anyway, I think about a year and a half later, I began to get an idea that maybe The Hills Have Eyes would be a contender for a classic, but it was put into the Museum of Modern Art in New York on permanent collection. Now, I don't know if it's still there or anything about that, as the greatest terror, not horror, terror classic ever made.
Wow.
So when it got that award and was put on permanent collection, I thought, well, I didn't think of it as a terror classic, but I suppose it is. And I think then I knew that maybe it would have longevity, but I never thought it would have this long of longevity, because I have fans all the time everywhere they just love that movie, and they play. And Halloween is my month. October becomes my month, because everybody loves The Hills Have Eyes because it is scary. And then they did the remake, and I saw that. I went to the opening, the red carpet opening, and I thought it had some nice highlights to it, but I think it lacked the rawness and the edginess of the first one. There were just too many special effects. With the original Hills Have Eyes, you can almost believe that could really happen.
Oh yeah, it's realistic.
But the remake, it had so many special effects. I know, maybe I'm biased, but I felt like it was a little too, gimmicky.
No, it's definitely polished.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
The Boatyard has that rawness that The Hills Have Eyes has. I think that and I was talking to the director on Thursday, Dale Stelly, and he said, I wish I had a budget where I could really put in a lot of special effects. I said, I'm so glad you didn't, because it's kind of raw, like The Hills Have Eyes, and maybe it will have that. Like I said, you never know, but you never know if a movie's going to make it or not, or how long it will have, any kind of prominence. You just never know.
Yeah, and the Boatyard. So it hasn't actually come out yet, because y'all just finished. You just had the wrap party. So, but it's all, that's great that it's already like out everywhere, coming soon. That's awesome. So there's a lot of hype. Is there a teaser trailer?
I think they have a fairly nice, PR advertising budget. So, I mean, to get a billboard in Times Square, I
was going to say that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a teaser trailer for it yet?
Uh-huh. There is.
Okay. All right.
On Instagram, and it's Instagram, the Boatyard movie.
Okay.
There's a trailer. There's a trailer on there, and I look quite different in the trailer than I do today.
I love your look though, and it's when I first looked at your IMDb, my first thought was like, oh my God, she looks like Brigitte Bardot. I love it. I love your look. It looks so great. So you play in the Boatyard. You're like the killer, so you got a completely different look. But that's great though. That's
ratty hair and a motorcycle jacket, and just I'm just mean as hell. So
oh, that's awesome.
It's fun. Life as an actor is a lot of fun. It's also hard work and a lot of rejection, a lot of disappointment. And you just have to learn to let it roll off. And I think I was at an advantage with all that because of the music. Like if I didn't get something or I was rejected in some way, because everybody gets rejected, your biggest stars have been turned down for roles. I just go into my studio and write music and I don't even think about it. I can go into the thing about music is you have total control over it. You can, finish a song, go pay money and have it produced, or maybe a label will have it produced, but you have control over your product. And I believe that the way technology is developing will have that same sort of control, more so, at least for low budget projects, with the accessibility of technology the way it is. I teach acting on film sometimes, and what I emphasize, you've got to go shoot yourself. You've got to set up that camera and watch yourself and shoot tiny vignettes. They can be little seconds of things, but the accessibility of technology was never as exciting as it is right now. And before, it was a whole audition process, and then you go to the director and producer and they have to okay you. Now you can kind of work if you want to, if you have an iPhone, acting.
Yeah. Technology has come along. We were talking to, we had Carl York several weeks back, and he was saying back when he did Cannibal Holocaust, he was like, it was really luck. He said, I just so happened to have been home that day and answered my phone, and it was his agent. He's like, if I wasn't home, we didn't have cell phones back then. I was like, yeah, so technology is it really come a long way. You're right.
I did the pilot for Three's Company, and I had just come out of the desert. I had the Suzanne Summers part, Chrissy, and I had just come out of the desert from The Hills Have Eyes. There were no groceries in the house, so I had gone, and there was no cell phone or anything like that. I went to the grocery store in Studio City, and it's called the Market Basket, and I was buying groceries. I had sand in my hair, no makeup on. I looked like hell. And I heard over the loudspeaker, Susan Lanier, come to the office. Susan Lanier, come to the office. I went, is that me? Oh, God. And it was my agent. And he said, get over to ABC. You're going to test for Three's Company. And I went, I can't. I'm dirty. I've got sand in my hair. I look like shit. And he goes, get over, put your groceries down, get over to ABC right now. So he was able to page me in the grocery store. Oh my gosh. I mean, things have changed so much.
That is so crazy. That's a fun story, though. Susan Lanier.
And what was that?
Report to the office.
What was that like, Three's Company? And also Welcome Back, Kotter, and all these other things. Happy Days.
Yeah.
All these things that you did.
All of them were great experiences. Three's Company, probably the least, because, it was one of those things where my agent had negotiated because there was another girl doing the role and she wasn't working out. And I'd lost in the middle of rehearsal, they let her go and they replaced her with me. And I lost 5 or 6 days of rehearsal. So I only had about 3 days to learn all of the lines and do the show in front of a live audience 2 times. And because they were so desperate, my agent had him over a barrel, and he really negotiated a lot of money. And that didn't set so well after the pilot sold. And for whatever reason, maybe they preferred, I thought Suzanne did a great job. And but that was one of my show business disappointments. I have to be honest about it. I really wanted to do that series. And then later, it didn't work out for her either. And so I went on to do some really prestigious theater in New York. And I feel like maybe everything happens for a reason, and you have to kind of just believe that, or you're not suited for this business, because that's a biggie. That's a big loss, and I can rationalize it all I want, that it wasn't such a big deal, but that was a big loss, and it hurt your feelings, but that's okay. I mean, and I loved Henry Winkler playing on Happy Days. I love Henry Winkler. He is the nicest man in show business. And I saw him recently at the Hollywood Celebrity Convention, and they were having a Happy Days sort of reunion thing. And it was so good to see him. And he was the first date I had in LA when I moved here in 1975. And he was just as sweet as he could possibly be. And it was just great seeing him. And I'm friends with all of them. I was friends with Gary Marshall until he passed away. And then Travolta and I are just about the only ones left out of the Cotter crowd. Larry Hilton Jacobs is still around, and I celebrated 4th of July with him about 5 years ago. So we're, we all kind of, it's a small, it seems and sounds so huge, but Hollywood is kind of a small town in its own group, in its own way. I'm not in the new circle of whatever, but of our generation, we were all pretty tight.
See that though. I could see that for sure. So tell us about like your experience on a film set, because a lot of people, like from an outsiders, they don't realize it's because it looks like acting and being in movies, it looks so glamorous, but it is a lot of work, and a lot of waiting.
First of all, it's very, very physical. I've been, bruised or injured probably on every set I've ever worked on, including the Boatyard, which I just finished. And at this age, because I have to be stabbed and crawl on this dirty floor. And it's like, the guy kind of stabbed me too hard, and I went, hey, wait, dude, you can't do that. You got to fake it. And yeah, it's set up. It's supposed to look easy, and it's supposed to look glamorous. A lot of people think it's easy and glamorous, and I think I'll go be an actor. They have no idea. A lot of it is waiting in your trailer for your time, and you're just sitting there and you're waiting. I did one of the days on Boatyard, I had a 6 a.m. call or something, and we broke it at 10 at night or something, and I didn't say one word. They never got to my scene. They had to put me for the day, but I'm sitting there all day in makeup ready to go, and we never got to the scene. So that happens a lot. So it's sitting and waiting. And so I always take my work, on my computer so that I can work on my book or whatever I'm working on to fill that time. And then once you're on the set and doing the scenes over and over and over and over again, and you do the master shot, and then you come in for medium shots and over the shoulder shots, and then your close up, and all those things have to be done over and over and over again, and they all have to match up. So it's not just saying the lines that you have to get right, it's matching the action that you have to get right over and over and over again, so that it looks like one take. And that very rarely happens. So it's hard work. It's really hard. It's very physical.
Yeah. Have you ever been like talking about that? I've watched like behind the scenes, and like when they have to wear a lot of makeup or get in these suits, and it just takes hours and hours and hours and hours. Have you ever had to do anything like that? Like,
no, yeah. It's long enough. I think the most tedious one was when I did Days of Our Lives, because you walk in, you go you go to one chair and then they just take you and put you in another chair, and they put you in another chair, and and dress you, and you're kind of that they have a nicely oiled machine there. It's down to a fine art, the technical part of it, because they have to move so fast. But I have not had to wear anything that would take hours and hours to do. Thank goodness. I would do it if the price was right, but I haven't had to do that. No.
Yeah. I think that would be very difficult for me, because I'm always like wanting to move around and do things. That would be really hard for me to sit there that long. But even like when I do cosplay, and I've learned how to do like my own makeup, and it takes me just to do my makeup myself. Sometimes takes me a good 2 hours. So when you're having it professionally done in the whole bodysuit, and they're like, yeah, my makeup took 8 hours. And then I was tired before we even started filming. I think that would be so difficult.
Yeah, that's challenging sometimes when you have to, get there really early and just be on the set really early. And I'm not an early riser. I'm a night crawler from nightclubs and nightlife. And so it's really difficult to get up early.
That's me too.
Yeah. It's all of us.
Yeah, it is all of us.
But we do what we have to do. And, I'm kind of used to that. I did a horror TV series that was shot during COVID, produced by Brooke Lewis Bellis, who is known in the horror world as Miss Vampy. And she is an amazing producer. And I did that. She made it into a series, but we shot it during COVID, and when nobody was working, when all the studios were shut down tight because there was no vaccine yet. That was before the vaccine. And it was directed by Joshua Butler. And they came up with the idea of doing a horror series in our own homes. And so nobody got together. And so it was kind of written, a lot of improv. And, one day was the director and me, and the director and, David Alpay plays one of the roles, and Robert Blake's son, Noah Blake, is in it, and different people. There were about 5 or 6 of us, and Brooke. And so one day, I have my phone, or he has his phone, and I'm showing him locations in my house that would work for the scene, right? And then I had to light it, and then chain myself up, and and so I had to do everything, and it was really, really challenging. And then he shot it on Skype, and it ended up being a little series. It's on some network. I'm not sure, maybe Tubi. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's kind of interesting that we were able to do. That was what I was talking about earlier, is that you can now have the capability to create your own series or your own vehicles. You don't have to wait for the studio or casting director to call you in. Go make films. You just
filmed it yourself. Then you filmed it to yourself and sent to him. So everybody was filming their own little part, right?
Well, he filmed it on Skype. And,
okay.
And then most of it was creative. It's called Red Rooms, and everything's red kind of. And he created it he really made it work in post. It wouldn't have worked had he not been a really good post editor or gotten whoever he got to edit it, because he knew what he was doing technically. But he actually filmed it on Skype, and it turned out okay. I mean, it's a little fuzzy, but
So I saw that earlier. I think it is on Tubi, Red Rooms. I remember seeing that. So now that I know that, I've got to go back and watch it for sure. For sure.
Most of it was improvised, because he had, I think all of it really, it wasn't scripted. So
Did it have anything at all to do with a virus or quarantine or anything along those lines at all?
it didn't have anything to do with a virus, but it did have to do with an evil, an evil presence. And and they came up with it and wrote it. And Brooke and I have done different projects together. We did a comedy called Stripped together, and we're just really good friends. And I have deep respect for her knowledge of show business. If I have a biz question, she's the first phone call I make. She knows everything about show business, much more than I do. But she's a real go-getter. I mean, she knows how to get stuff done. I'm more of an artistic nature, and I can do the work, but I'm not a go-getter or a hustler. She can really get stuff made. And that was interesting.
So together y'all are like the perfect team then.
Yeah. I mean, she was in my music video that I did with Michael Berryman on a song I wrote with Ron Finn. And the song is called Watch What You Ask For. You Just Might Get It. So it's a music video. Michael Berryman wanted to be in it, and I adore him. And then Brooke said, well, I want to be in it. I said, oh, let's just everybody be in it. And I wrote it, and it's to the music, but I did direct that and produce it. So anyway, that's on YouTube under Susan Lanier Bramlett. I'm also known as, I'm Susan Lanier from The Hills Have Eyes, but I'm also known as Susan Lanier Bramlett when I do music. And so it's a little confusing. I'm mostly just Susan Lanier these days. But if you're looking for music videos, it's under Suze Lanier Bramlett. When I segued in the 80s from acting to music, I really just wanted it to be like Suze. So anyway, so I did a lot of music under that name.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Well, Susan, you've done some other horror films now. You did like Cut and Area 51 and stuff like that. I know you said originally you weren't looking to do horror movies. Have you grown to like horror movies? Is that something you kind of do look to do now?
Again, I like to work. And so because I have a fan base in horror, I'm asked to do more horror. I do have a script that is a comedy that is very much kind of like Barbie, maybe, that I, if once the strike is over and it looks like it's just about to end, and it gets greenlit, I think I have a really interesting role in that. And it's a comedy. I really love comedy the most, but, I'm lucky to be, I've been in this business a long, long time. And so anything I get, I'm lucky to have. And I understand that, a lot of people that have been in the business as long as I have don't remember lines anymore, or they're retired or whatever. And I'm not there yet. So, I'm grateful that I'm just working. So if I get offered horror and I like the role, I'm going to do it, I love the role of Martha in the Boatyard. I mean, she's just awful. So, I do like playing the bad guy a lot.
That's awesome. And so of most of your movies, it's horror and comedy, from what I can tell. So you said you love comedy. Do you like, for personally, do you like horror movies personally?
No, I won't watch them.
You won't watch them?
No, when I did No Solicitors with Eric Roberts, it was directed by John Callis. And I went to the screening of it. It was a red carpet opening in Santa Monica. And I went by myself, and I shouldn't have, but I did. I went by myself. And after we walked the red carpet and said hello to everybody, and then the movie started, I went, I cannot watch this.
You can't watch it.
It's just too weird. And I left because it was disturbing. And I like to write horror movies, but and I have I've pitched a couple of projects that I've written, and that's different. But watching them, I really get absorbed into the story, And no, but I love comedy. Comedy just lightens the world. My one of my first jobs in Hollywood was doing stand-up on the Tony Orlando and Dawn show, teamed up with George Carlin. And
Oh,
that was a really big deal. And he taught me a lot about comedy.
yeah, he
So
was amazing.
he was amazing. And so I've been really lucky to work with some amazing people.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
One of the things that comes to mind, I guest starred on Barnaby Jones, and I worked with the great late Pat Hingle. And he was the guest star and I was co-star or something, I don't know. And it was one of my very first shows, and he goes, "You're from the theater, aren't you?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." And he goes, "All right, come to my dressing room. I've got to teach you some things and about film acting, movement with your body, and asking for a sandbag, which is a bag of sand which you put on your mark so you don't have to look down, so your toes hit the sandbag and you don't go over the line." A lot of actors don't know to do stuff like that, and so I was really lucky. Pat Hingle was one of the, in his day, was extremely famous, and for him to care enough to say, "Okay, this is how you do it, ask for a sandbag, don't be shy," just little things that I would never have thought of coming from a theater background.
Yeah, because it's different. You would think it would be the same, but it is different, right?
Totally different. Totally
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you like better? Do you have a preference? Do you like theater or
If you had asked me this question 5 years ago,
yeah.
I would have said maybe theater.
Yeah.
But and I love doing my cabaret show and I love doing music. But nowadays I really prefer film because you do it, it's over with. I just got back from New York, where I was thinking of getting involved in a project. I just didn't want to be in Manhattan that long. And so I'm a real LA girl now. I used to be a Manhattan girl. But it's a real time commitment. So at my age, some days you just go, "Oh, I've got a cold," or "I've got my knee hurts." I don't want to be stuck having to do a play night after night after night, 8 performances a week. Excuse me, I do have a cold. Night after night after night, not feeling perfect, And I have done that. I've been sick on stage a million times when I was younger, but it's harder. It's a little harder as a more mature actor to be able to pull off a really brilliant performance. It's not that hard to do on film because okay, I just got to get through today, or this week or this month, and it'll be over. It's not 8 performances a week of the same thing. But I mean, that's not to say if I was offered a great play, I'd turn it down. I wouldn't. But my preference is film.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that though. I could see that. I would get probably bored if I had to do the same thing every single night. So I could see that. Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
I don't think I've ever gotten bored doing it because you always have this rush of energy from the audience, but you get that from your audience. But I love filmmaking. I think people are much more interested in going to see film because they can watch it from their living room now than to get in their car, pay $200 or $300 for a theater ticket, be squashed on Broadway. They have not changed the setup of the seats on Broadway in many, many years. And people were a little smaller in those years, and the seats are tiny. So if you are worried about something like, say, COVID or catching a cold or something, all these people are just bunched in together. The seats are not comfortable. And so it's like those, I'm talking about really just Broadway. The Pantages and some of the theaters here in LA are much more well planned and spacious. But it's fun to just say, hey, I think I'm going to go see a movie tonight. And you pay $20 and you go see a film, and now all the theaters have these cushy lounge chairs, and you can have cocktails even, or dinner while you watch a movie. I don't know. I think that's more fun these days.
Yeah. Even though you can like watch everything from home, I still love going to the movie theater and just getting that experience. I just love that.
Yeah. I went and saw Barbie. That was the last movie I saw, but I really feel like I should be going to the theaters more to support them, so they don't just peter out.
Mm-hmm. What's a good play that you've seen recently? Have you seen anything recently that you liked?
Play? No. I mean, I just saw Barbie. I'm trying to think what was the last play I saw. Oh, I saw David Dean Buttrell do a one-man show in New York last Monday of this week. So I just flew back from New York. So that was really good. That was in Pangea Cabaret, where I would like to do my show. But he has a one-man show, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, if you're in New York, go. It's worth the price of the ticket. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. Did you like the Barbie movie? I'm just curious. Did you like it?
I loved it.
I haven't seen it.
I thought it was brilliant. And I love the message that, and I love the special effects. I thought it was brilliant. And could easily win the Academy Award this year.
Oh, okay. You took your girls to see that, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah. My girls,
They like it?
They did. They're younger, so they didn't get all the messages and stuff, but yeah, they like it.
It's very pink.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta like pink.
Yeah.
It's like a thing. You put on all the pink, and then you go see the movie.
It's very, very pink.
Yeah.
So, wait, tell me this. I'm dying to ask. So, out of all the roles that you played, do you have a favorite character that you played?
I think if I was to pick one that I'm known for and that I am proud of, probably Bambi and Welcome Back, Kotter. That was a memorable role. I love starring in The Hills Have Eyes as Brenda. So it's kind of a tie between those two. And those two are the ones I'm most known for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched I did a rewatch of The Hills Have Eyes earlier today.
So did I.
Did you? That is so awesome. I was like, oh my God, I love your character. Is it Brenda, right? Brenda's your character. I was like, oh, she's like so cute and fun. She's really great. And I actually, you know what, between the original and the remake, I by far the original. Love the original. It was really great.
Thank you.
One of the things that came to mind when I was watching it is, what about the elements? Now you're filming out in the desert and stuff. We've heard about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how their elements really made that film because it was so hot and everything. What about your experiences?
Well, it was the same. And prior to The Hills Have Eyes, I had my own dressing room, my own makeup artist. On TV, I had gotten established enough that, my agent could ask for certain amenities that were lovely. And I went into The Hills Have Eyes knowing they were on a very limited budget. I wasn't aware that I wouldn't have my own dressing room. We were all, men, women, Dee Wallace, me, we were all in the same dressing room, trailer, out in the hot sun of Victorville, California. And the elements were rough. And I really did. When I came off of that, it took a month to shoot it. And I was bruised from head to toe. I mean, I was one solid bruise from being dragged in the desert floor. At night, it was cold. And, like I said, acting is very physical. You're not just selling the words, but your body has to take on also the characteristics of the character you're playing. And then the circumstances like being stabbed and climbing on the floor a few weeks ago, in the Boatyard, I was like going, oh, this really hurts, So you have to be pretty prepared for the physical challenges of it.
Yeah. You are right. You are so right when you say that, because almost every time I've done acting, I'll come home with like big bruises on my legs, and it is crazy. It really is physical. It looks so glamorous and fun, but it's a lot of work. And yes, you do get little bruises and bumps from it. It's my first feature film, I was hit in the head with a glass bottle, and it was like a sugar bottle, and they only had 4 of them. And the second one was, they didn't realize it was a little thick. So when I get hit in the head with it, but like when you're filming, you kind of got the adrenaline rush, and I didn't realize that I thought at the end when we were in breaks, and I was like, oh, there's blood, and I really had blood like it, and I had a big goose egg on my forehead. I was like, that is so crazy. I thought it was fake blood. I didn't even really feel it when it happened, but I was like, I really got clocked in the head with a big goose egg on my head. It's crazy.
Totally. I mean, the one story that I haven't repeated too many times about The Hills Have Eyes is Virginia Vincent, who played my mother. They didn't have they scrimped on the budget for the stunt supervisor. And so she gets shot in that little trailer, and they hadn't had the experience to tell her to make sure you wear a bra. And she did not have on a bra. And so when she gets shot in the abdomen, she falls over from the sound and the squib that goes off that had been planted under her nightgown. And it actually injured her breast. So when she fell over, it injured her breast, and may she rest in peace. And that was her last day of filming. We had to fake her for the rest of the shoot because she had to go to the hospital. So that, you also, I tell all of my acting students that I teach you also have to stand up for yourself. And, don't be intimidated on the set. If somebody asks you to do something and you could get hurt, or you feel like you could get hurt, or it doesn't feel safe, you better speak up. Don't be intimidated, because nothing is worth getting injured, really injured. I don't mind a bruise or two, and I'll go. But, like on the Boatyard, the guy was really method actor, Jamal, and he, grabs me, and I'm fragile at this age, I'm not as sturdy as I was when I was 20. And so it kind of hurt. I said, dude, no, you can't grab me like that you got to stand up for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, he might not even realized it.
He certainly didn't do it on purpose. It was totally accidental. And he was just into the character and doing what his character was supposed to do, but he got a little bit too enthusiastic with it. So
I'm sure those things like happen all the time.
I'm sure every day,
Yeah.
That's
do you have any like fun, crazy stories of anything like fun that's happened like behind the scenes?
God, probably so many. It's
anyone that just kind of comes off the top of your head.
I'm trying to think. I did a pilot with Greg Malavy that I starred in called Wilder and Wilder, and Meredith McRae was my sister. That was a fun, a lot of antics on that set doing that pilot. I've done a lot of pilots that never took off. People don't realize how many pilots in the old days, not so many now, but in the old days, pilots were made right and left, and they didn't pick up half of them, and you'd get all excited about, having your show picked up, and then you're always let down when it's not. And so no, I mean, I've done a lot of work nobody will ever see because it was just a pilot,
Right.
So, Susan, it has been so awesome talking to you. I could sit here and talk to. We could sit here and talk to you
Okay.
all night.
Yeah.
So, if your fans wanted to like find you out there, are you on social media anywhere?
I am, and both names are on different sites. So I'm on Instagram, Susan Lanier, actor. Facebook, Susan Lanier Bramlett, Susan Lanier. I mean, if you type in my name on Google, all those mediums will come up. X, Twitter, I guess they call it. I don't do much tweeting or threads too much, but Instagram and Twitter, I'm there. And you can look at my new stuff coming up on IMDb under Susan Lanier. And also my music's available on YouTube, and my music videos on YouTube, and CDs are for sale too on, whatever, CD Baby and all those platforms. So yeah.
And then you say
check
you had a
out
book?
Yeah.
Then you say you had a book?
It's not finished.
Oh, it's not finished.
I can't promote it. I can't promote it until it's finished. It's very dark. And it's a memoir, but only 6 months of my life. And it was way before I moved to LA. And it's about a murder and that really happened. And it's pretty dark and funny and entertaining, I think. But I just have to finish it. Time, every day there's something, and I go, oh God, I don't have time to write. Writing is the hardest of all of them, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. So that'll give us something to look forward to then. Is your book coming out? Maybe
I can come back when the book's finished. I think
yes,
that's well. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. And check it. And so we're gonna check out the Boatyard movie on Instagram, and that's where we can see the trailer. Right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
And then look out for Black Mass, and then I think I'm doing another one. I don't know. I'm doing a couple more. One in November, one in January. So just keep checking it out, and I love the fans to see the work. So
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Do you have anything else for Mike?
I think that's all. We really appreciate you coming on. I mean, obviously we love the movie Hills Have Eyes, and a lot of the other stuff that you've done, and looking forward to all the new stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. All right.
I'll talk to you guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe after the Boatyard comes out.
All right.
We'll see what happens. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. That's hardcore.
Nothing harder.